Welcome back to the Midnight Gospel, where we fall asleep into dreaming of being there in our favorite Bible stories. Tonight, we begin with the story of the woman who reached out to touch the hem of Jesus' garment. Just a quiet moment in a crowded street, a gentle hand reaching for hope in the middle of ordinary life. These aren't sermons. They're stories retold slowly to help your body rest and your soul come home back to God. You might notice your breath now, just the soft, steady rhythm as you lie here. Let each breath settle you a little deeper, like dust floating down after a long day. This video was made to help you drift to sleep while drawing near to something holy. You don't need to try, each small word will be here, walking beside you, whether you're listening closely or just floating on the edge of dreams. Even if you fall asleep before the end, the story will keep walking with you. Like a quiet friend beside your bed, still talking even if you're gone to sleep. Nothing is lost. You are held simply for being here. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it settle into your breath. The story is patient. God sees even the smallest reach. This is a night to be still, to let everything slow down. The story will keep you company until sleep gently arrives. The world begins under linen, the light still soft, almost shy at first. My breath moves quietly up and down, filling the small space between dreams and the day. The room barely stirs, only the hush of someone turning on their side, the weight of blankets, the slow exhale returning to stillness. Shadows slide along the clay wall, shifting as dawn touches the edges. The cool air lingers, unmoving, patient. I hear only breath, my own. Then somewhere across the room, the faintest creak, the subtle rustle of fabric. Stillness, then another breath. No one speaks. Not yet. Nothing calls for us. The only sound is the small, steady rhythm of breathing, slow, then slower. Sometimes I forget whether my eyes are open or closed. The light creeps in but asks nothing of me. Just the promise of another day begun in hush and quiet. I let my hand slip from beneath the cover, palm to cool earth. Air and skin meet, pausing at the edge of movement. I watch dust rise, caught in that fresh, hallowed beam, gold, then pale, then gone. My breath joins its gentle path. In, out, in, waiting for nothing but the slow birth of morning. The linen above me softens the world. The corners of the room hold their secrets in shadow, patient as the sky lightens, not all at once, only as much as I am ready to open my eyes. Outside, the city is silent, the donkey still tethered. No voice calls my name. I fill my lungs again, slow as hope returning. Even the air is careful with me. From the corner, someone's quiet cough, then closure. The day does not rush. Still, I lie listening. My mind wanders nowhere, rests in the pause between waking and rising. Even this stillness is holy. The walls remember yesterday's sunlight. The floor warms only at the edges. I breathe. The cloth over my legs is light and heavy all at once, safe, familiar. I do not rise. God visits the quiet, I think, lingering in breath and shadow. I have nothing to do, nowhere to go. The gift is the silence itself. Let this moment stretch. Perhaps in another room someone else stirs just as slow. Perhaps somewhere outside a bird will call when it's ready, not before. I listen for it, but the world waits with me. I let my breathing slow, watching the new day grow brighter at the seams. Even this is enough. I return to the quiet. I let my breath carry me. I remember the story about a woman who, before reaching, waited for light. I stay here under linen, inside stillness, grateful for the long breath of dawn. She lifts the clay jars one by one. They are not light, but today they feel softer, almost slow in her hands, rounded at the edges, still warm from where the sun brushed them this morning. Cool on her palms, smooth from years of washing, carrying, setting down. Even the effort seems to hang in the air, almost not there, more memory than ache, as if the weight is shared somehow and doesn't really belong to her anyway. She walks the narrow path with steady steps. The dust clings to her ankles, a familiar old friend. Tiny stones press into her soles, and the straps on her sandals leave gentle marks. She does not hurry. There is no need. No one is waiting to cheer or scold. It's just her, her jars, and the road that knows every quiet journey. All along the way there are other small noises. A bird hopping in the brush, a far-off voice calling out for a goat, the soft, hollow tap of jar against her hip. Every sound is a part of the day, nothing asks anything from her. Even the silence joins her, walking alongside without a word. Let this moment stretch. She shifts the jars, arms loose, not trying to prove or finish anything. The task asks no heroics, just presence. If a thought comes, she lets it float past. She isn't worried about getting it done right or getting somewhere in time. The work is here, step after step, and it carries its own gentle peace. She passes a fig tree. Its shadow pools over the path. There isn't any reason to stop, but the coolness feels kind. She stands in it for a while, jar balanced at her feet, breathing slow. She feels the air on her skin, the weight leave her shoulders for a moment. Even this silence is holy when she moves on. It is without rush. She notices everything because she is not in a hurry to be anywhere else. The jars are not burdens, just part of the day, like her own heartbeat. The steady slosh of water back and forth sets a soft rhythm. Each sound is soft. Each step is easy. The road is not long. Everything needed is here, within reach, filling the quiet with gentle work. She rounds a bend. The well comes into view, its stones worn smooth and cool. She does not speak to the others who stand waiting. Their presence is just familiar, not demanding. They nod to her, she nods back. There is no hurry, only the slow pattern of arriving, waiting, drawing, filling. She lowers the jar into the well. The rope hums quietly. Water splashes, then settles. The jar drinks deeply, grows heavy with promise. She does not grumble. She does not praise. Her body simply remembers this moment and always will. Soon her arms will ache, but right now, each breath feels like a gentle pause. She lets her mind slow until her thoughts are softer, lighter than her jars. The sun above is gentle, not bold. Shadows gather on the ground, cool and harmless. Even the smallest work has meaning here. A breeze passes by. She closes her eyes for a second and almost forgets that she is someone who was ever tired. Even the water seems to rest before being carried home. For now she is only here, holding what's needed by quiet hands, with no need to be more than she is. The night listens with you, no one takes note, no one applauds. Yet somehow, through the simple, necessary work, she feels seen. The jars are full. Her heart is too. In the hush, with every step, she remembers that even unnoticed things are not forgotten. She asked for nothing and still felt full. Let the stillness hold you even as you drift. Every small, unhurried moment is seen. Every step home is holy. It was the quiet part of the morning when I began, the sun slanting low through our window, warm but not yet bright. The house held a hush, with only the tick of the old beam cooling above and the low whisper of the fire settling earth and sky somewhere inside my chest. I pressed my palm onto the flour sack, fingers feeling the roughness of the linen, its edges soft with time. I tipped flour onto the board. It fell in a little cloud, dust in a wide beam of sun, slowly spinning down until it settled into soft white mounds. The air felt gentler then, like nothing needed to hurry any more. I drew patterns in the flour, circling once, then twice. My thumb left a crescent-shaped dent. It made me smile. The wooden spoon waited nearby, steady as breath. I measured water without thinking, just as I had yesterday. Just as my mother had silent, hardly moving lips. No need for talking here. A small sleep cue, let this moment stretch, even this silence, is holy. The water met flour in a slow, spreading dark. I folded them with lazy circles, spoon turning the center to thick, sticky paste. A good weight, I thought as I breathed in. The scent met me, yeasty, clean, a little wild, like rain on stone. My hands sank into the dough, folding and pressing, knuckles pushing gently, palms patient. The dough was sleepy too and yielded. I dusted more flour over everything. My hands looked like old doves, white and soft and unhurried. The board creaked now and then, quiet as someone sleeping. In those moments I could almost believe nothing outside mattered. Only this bowl. Only the dough pressed flat, edges circular, air beneath my palms warmer than before. A sleep cue, the world outside fades here. You can let your own eyes close. The dough sat in the bowl, rising slow as breathing. Sometimes I watched its stillness. Nothing moved. Only a gentle swell upward, barely seen yet sure. I breathed with it. In and out, let the day drift on, I thought. There is no reason to rush. The fire whispered as I worked. Its heat circled under the skillet, old ashes making small hissing sounds now and then. I liked the way the warmth slid out across the floor, reaching for my toes. It reminded me I was home. Some mornings I saw sparrows flash past the door or dust rise in the empty square beyond the house. But in here it was just dough and waiting. I pressed the dough flat with careful hands. It felt alive, soft, strong, yielding at my touch. Little lines and dimples stayed where my fingers paused. Each circle looked a bit different. Some edges frayed, others tidy. Nobody ever minded. Bread was bread. After all, a sleep cue, the gentle work is enough. Every small thing rests in God's hands. I dusted more flour on the board, shook the wooden spoon free of dry grains. Sometimes I imagined the flour as mountain snow, piling quietly, unnoticed by the noisy world. I liked lifting it with my wrist, letting it fall through sunlight, slow, slow, until it found its perfect landing. The dough went onto the hot stone. It sizzled, first quietly, then with a tiny, hopeful sound. Warm steam rose, carrying that sleepy smell, the promise of breakfast, of afternoon meals, of a full belly and no hunger. The colors deepened. Golden, then toast brown. I watched for bubbles to rise, little pockets of air forming, stretching, fading. A sleep cue, even this small warmth is holy. You can rest with me beside the fire. I turned each flatbread in its time. No need for hurry. Nothing else called to me. Not the clatter outside, not the distant shouts near the well. My whole day, it seemed, fit inside these few round circles, smooth and safe. The fire carried an old song, wood and ash, warmth and patience. In the corner, a basket waited for bread to pile up, soft and lined with cloth as worn as any prayer. I thought of the woman in the story, hands trembling as she reached, hoping. Bread is like hope, I supposed. Easy, patient, simple. It waits for what it needs. It rises slowly, hidden at first and then offered to those who sit nearby. No one here asks for miracles, not from bread, not from me. Just a meal that fills without fanfare, feeds without a word. I patted the last circle flat, dusted the back of my wrist across my brow. The day could be long, but for now, everything felt quiet. The room held one more moment, soft as lamb's wool, gentle as a hush at dusk. Asleep cue the night listens with you. Every corner of this day is allowed to rest, bread on the board warm, steaming, the basket half full. The house quiet except for fire and the smallest sounds of home, a bowl being set down, something stirring in the corner. I sat for a moment, palms open to the warmth. I did not pray out loud, but I knew I'd been heard. I wanted nothing more than this stillness, this subtle peace turning ordinary bread into something whole. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The last flatbread slipped beside the fire, waiting. My hands finally rested, quiet and empty, a little flour still caught beneath my nails. Even that felt sacred, so plain it almost faded away, but it stayed with me. In the hush, the dough rose, the fire whispered, and I knew I had done enough for today. A sleep cue. Let this moment settle, quiet as the bread beside the fire. The road stretches. It always stretches further than I remember. Stones set during a time before my own, and olive trees slanting their shade like old friends nodding to each other. The sandals on my feet make a hush, left, right, left, soft scratch, soft silence. That's the sound of an afternoon slipping away in a quiet rhythm. I barely notice my breath anymore. Maybe the dust notices me more than I notice myself. But every step, left, right, left, gives its own gentle answer to the road. No one hurries here. Even the wind feels careful not to disturb anything important. Sometimes a neighbor drifts by, head lowered in thought, their own sandals speaking the same language. No one has to greet each other out loud. We know the walk. The sun moves through the olive branches, flickering shadows across the skin. Every footfall becomes a kind of prayer, uttered with each shift of weight. These steps are all I have to give tonight. Not bold and not secret, just small. I let my mind follow the pattern, left, right, left. Counting them echoes a heartbeat. The world softens with repetition. Not much changes. The road finds its way under my feet as if it's been waiting for me. Come, walk here again. It's not a journey with a grand finish. No trumpets, no crowd, just my own soft footsteps and the long, patient road. Dust collects on the edge of my toes. The olive trees watch. Their leaves barely tremble. Even the birds are quiet, somewhere out of sight. The world hushes for the slowness of it. Sometimes I think about running, but the road teaches me to stay. My body feels tired, the tiredness that feels like being hugged by something bigger than myself. Walking isn't about getting anywhere. It's for letting things settle, watching the sun take its time between the leaves, hearing my own heart repeat step after step. If I try to remember why I started, it fades. The only thing real is the next step, left, right, left. A prayer grows inside the rhythm. I don't say anything holy. I just notice how the world is holding me, how even the sound of my sandals feels known. Someone passes further down the path, but their form blurs into the light. Maybe they're headed home. Maybe they're just drifting, too. The road belongs to us both, to anyone who walks it. The old stones memorize every traveler without telling anyone secrets. By now, shadows are longer than I am tall. The day feels tired, too, in the way people do when they're finally safe. Each step presses my worries deeper into the dust, and the road gives nothing back but silence. There's peace in being ignored by the world for a while. The sound, the walk, the wind, everything repeats. The repetition guards me from thinking too much. God is everywhere, I suppose. But just now, he feels most at home in the ordinary steps of a wandering, tired soul. Let this moment stretch. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. The air felt different that morning, almost held, like a deep breath that didn't want to leave. I moved slow, finding shade beneath a dusty olive tree, just where the road dipped south of the synagogue. Even before I saw the crowd, I could hear it, a hush, more than a noise. Not loud, not wild. Just soft voices stacked together, like the sea going quiet in the afternoon, each gentle word slipping through the warm air, too far away to understand, but close enough to know I wasn't alone. From where I stood, nothing was clear. Robes folded over themselves, shapes settling and shifting, faces tucked low in the heat. No one shouting, no laughter, just questions turned into quiet. She was there at the edge, not behind, not ahead, just apart without a name or a need to join in. The kind of space you keep when you're used to listening more than speaking. Her hands wrapped loose around her middle, fingers still, like the corners of a blanket not needed tonight. There was no hurry, not for her, not for any of us nearby. The sun moved high overhead, and still everyone just stood, worn sandals pressing down the grass, shadows stretching slow. Time puddled around our ankles, patient and clean. I found something gentle in standing still, breathing with the group, not in it. Feeling the holy pass near but not gripping tight, letting the miracle walk by, the way a cool draft finds you toward evening. Enough to notice, never enough to chase. Once a child cried out, not afraid, not hurt, just tired, reaching for a mother's hand. The mother shushed him, brushing his hair aside, and the quiet deepened, steady as a folded sheet. I pressed a palm against the worn bark behind me, grounding myself. There was nothing I would miss and nothing to catch up to. Here at the edge, the world felt smaller, like a lull planted in the grass. And even when I closed my eyes, nothing rushed. The crowd's hum touched the border of sleep, steady, unbroken. She waited, letting everyone else take their step. No one saw her move, not really. No one marked it in their heart. And yet she was part of us, all the people who watch, who hope quietly, and let the holy pass gently by, letting silence fill the gap, letting the breath go out, letting the moment be enough. Just a village afternoon pressed at the edge of something sacred. You don't have to move to be near it. You don't have to speak to be heard. Sometimes the most sacred things settle just outside the noise. Let this moment stretch, soft and slow. Even this distance is holy. The night listens with you. Evening settles without hurry, soft and wide as a folded blanket. In the quiet after supper, I gather the tunics from the line. Some belong to the guests who passed through in the afternoon. others to those I know by their walk. Each tunic is a little different. Some are rough, woven from thick beige threads, others thin and old, the kind you turn twice before they sit flat. I press them all smooth under my palms, not because anyone asked, but because order is gentle and the whole room feels calmer for it. The ragged edges curl up, so I smooth them back down, running my hand over the fabric the way you skim a stone over water, gently, with soft intention. It doesn't matter if there are creases left. The fabric yields quietly, asking nothing. Some tunics still carry warmth from the sun. Some are cool from a shadow on the line. All of them familiar. I fold each sleeve inward, then half again so they stack in a careful pile. There's no hurry. My hands know the shape. It's the same folding my mother taught me, and her mother before her, probably. It makes little difference how neatly I stack them, but I do it anyway, slow and careful. The hush here is deep, just the sound of my breath and the far-off sweep of someone brushing the threshold. Sometimes I think the world spins mostly on these quiet things we do, the little tasks nobody names, the folds and corners made straight. No one notices this work, but the order sits in the air, softening everything around it. I lay the last tunic down on cool stone. My fingertips rest there. I press out one more line, resting in the simple repetition, the temple of this small moment. Let this moment stretch now, the familiar weight of fabric in your hands, the slow, certain way the pile grows and the world outside grows quieter. Even the lamp light seems to rest its glow over every soft edge. I find a little peace here, folding tunics at dusk. Nothing grand, nothing hurried. Only care, carried from one cloth to the next, if only for tonight. Every thread in every tunic seen, known. The repetition brings a hush, the order brings peace. Even this silence, holy, the night listens with you. There's a corner beyond the small market, shaded by sun-cracked stones and a twist of fig branches. Dusk keeps the world quiet here, muffled, almost gentle. I came tired, a humming tired, softer than ache, just wanting to sit and let my feet remember their shape. There was another soul already settled in the shadow, worn from his own silence, back resting against a rough wall, eyes not curious. His hands, open between knees, held a small basket of figs. Dark, heavy, the fruit glowed with an easy promise. He nodded, nothing asked. It was enough. I sat, my robe settling in the warm dust. The basket moved between us with a tilt, not a gesture, just a fact. There's a peace in not talking. Words would have been too sharp for this corner. For a time all there was the slow sorting of figs, gentle squeezing to test their ripeness. The weight of fruit passed from palm to palm. I chose one. He chose one. The bite needed no grand attention. You taste it, soft skin giving way. Sweetness comes slow. Chew, rest, swallow. The pulse behind my temples settled to match the pause. Around us, the market voices faded, the world slipping backwards in drowsy sunlight, stalls quieting for the heat. In this shade, two people, eating figs, nothing more, not asking why. A second bite slower. He chewed, then let his head lean back, cheek catching the stone's cool, eyes half closed, like drifting, like waiting for nothing. I followed. Fig again, this one firmer, flavor simple, familiar, chew, rest, breathe out. Hands in laps, whole, not reaching, only the bugs buzzing now. The air is heavy with ripeness, chew, rest. Another small bite, smaller, as if to make it last, though there are many figs still. I look at my thumb, sticky from juice, and wipe it across linen. The stillness grows. I listen to the breath beside me, steady. Even this silence is holy. We sit there, the sun curling around us, the figs half gone, but the hunger gone too. He asks for nothing, and still feels full. Every few breaths another bite, every few moments rest. Eyes drifting not toward sleep, but toward the middle distance where day and night trade places. Let this moment stretch. Even if the market wakes up, we stay hushed. The taste in our mouths could last forever or just this hour. Does it matter? I think of nothing. I feel the sweetness under my teeth, and time moves slow. Chew, rest, breathe. There's a place just before the market where dust settles on the stones in quiet layers. If you sit there, the busiest sounds turn gentle and far away. The crowd spills bright into itself, but here at the edge, the noise becomes soft, like linens folded over one another. Sellers talk, but not to you. Their voices float, tired and low, haggling for figs, olives, bread. The words come in pieces, trailing off at the end of each sentence, as if the market is already winding down before the evening comes. Children, too, loop through the narrow spaces, not running or shouting, only weaving quietly. Their sandals make a hush against smooth ground. Somewhere close, a mother calls for her child, her voice so calm it feels like another breath in a lullaby. No one hurries. No one looks over. You are just outside the circle, whole and unseen. You listen, not with curiosity, but in the way a hand rests on cloth, familiar, unhurried. The stall nearby, someone is weighing a basket of dates. The scales shift softly, metal on wood, then there's a pause, like the market remembering to breathe. Even the animals wait, tied in patience. Only their ears flick toward slow conversation. You do not speak here. There's no need. The world moves at its own quiet pace. You let each faraway murmur pass over you without asking to be understood. It feels good to be bland, to hang at the edge, and not be drawn forward. Here, it's enough just to be. Let this moment stretch. As the wind moves, so does the market, a scarf picked up, a loaf broken, grapes pressed into a small palm. Nobody calls your name. The business goes on. The air is warm and carries nothing urgent. Off to the side, you notice how dusk begins to lean against the rooftops. You think about nothing in particular, only the quiet work of being present, as unseen as a smooth stone in someone's shoe, as safe as the dust that never leaves the windowsill. In this place, you belong without needing to explain. The night listens with you, letting your eyes grow heavy. Even this stillness is holy, wrapped up in the hush that keeps forgetting and remembering you are there. You might never cross into the noise. But for now, stay with the faint sounds and the gentlest edges, breathing soft just outside the busy world. Nothing pulls, nothing presses. In this small space, even silence is a kind of shelter. Stone walls breathe cool wind tonight. They always have, though no one really remarks on it. When you lean against them with your back to old stones, you can feel the chill seep slowly through your linen tunic. It isn't unpleasant. The day's heat held fast to the dirt, but here, the walls let go of it, sighing out all that warmth, little by little as the night begins. The wind isn't hurried, it slides around the corners, through tiny gaps where mortar crumbled. Each draft is gentle. If you listen, you can hear it, just a hush, nothing sharp. It sounds like someone breathing out slowly at the end of a day. A shallow clay bowl sits near your feet, rocking ever so slightly when the wind comes low and easy. Just one edge lifts and settles again. You let your eyes follow its rhythm, nothing else to attend to. The bowl rocks, the wind moves, olive branches sway above in the early dark. They aren't heavy, so even the lightest current sets them into slow motion. Leaves flick, then turn back like rows of tiny hands waving in a dream. Shadows from the branches dance across the floor, first long, then short, depending on how the lamps flicker behind them. It's always changing but never rushing. Let this moment stretch sometimes, when all the chores are done and the town quiets down. It feels like the whole house is breathing along with you. A window shutter taps, once, twice, and then it's still. Only the smallest sounds remain. Your own breath settles in and out again, as soft as wind traveling over a field. Every now and then you catch a drift of thyme or damp earth. The scents ride in on stray breezes through the broken slats. If you pay attention, you can feel the change in the air. A cooler patch, a touch of night blooming in the corner of the room. Even this silence is holy. Shadows shift a little farther down the floor. You can see the dust, tiny, weightless things, moving just because the air moves. You watch with nothing else to do. Every particle finds its place, whether watched or not. You think how often the world is working quietly while no one notices. The wind keeps at its gentle roots. The olive branches never tire. The shadows come and go as if they know their time is short but full enough. Let your breath move as slow as wind at dusk. A goat stirs outside, bumping a wooden post. For a second, you think the whole world might settle back into sleep with you. Someone coughs in the next room, far off. It echoes like another breath around these walls. Still, no one gets up. There is comfort in staying close to stillness. Just outside, a moth lands against the lampshade. Its wings beat slow, gentle taps against the clay. Not in a hurry to leave, a moth is patient, tracing light patterns, waiting for the wind's next signal. Let this small movement say enough. You tuck your knees to your chest, feeling woven cloth slip over skin, and remember, it's been like this so many evenings before. The world grows quiet, and in that quiet, little things begin to matter more. Even the sound of your own breath. In, out, beneath the window, you spot a bit of fallen branch. Just olive leaves resting where the wind shrugged them off. You think how these are the same leaves people once wove into crowns, the same branches waved when someone gentle passed by. Tonight they simply rest, no task but to be here. The candles gutter. The flame leans, flickers, nearly dies when the wind flows in from the garden. You watch it bend, marveling at how even fire learns the language of the breeze. It flutters, then stands tall again, steady at the end of each gust. Let the stillness do the work. You don't pray aloud, not now. It's enough to listen to the way your own chest rises and falls. Each breath a wordless promise. No one here is forgotten, not even the small things. Wind against the walls. Sometimes that's all you need, to remember you're part of something slower than worry, older than fear. The wind will keep moving long after these little moments are over. So will the shadows and olive trees and the patient stones. Let your breath drift with the wind. Sleep might come, or it might not. That's just how these evenings are, nothing forced, nothing taken away. The house breathes, you breathe, and even the goats outside seem softer now. You hear in the quiet the song of something gentle, a life unhurried, held in sacred boredom. No big miracle, but 100 small ones, all in the hush between wind and stone. Let boredom be holy. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel the gentle weight of it. The wind, the wall, the wholeness of being seen, even if only by the quiet. Your breath in, out, let it settle. Let the night do what the day could not. And if the world turns slow tonight, let it turn. Stay close to the sacred rhythm of nature's small movements. The Lord is here in the wind and in the slowing. Nothing more is needed. It's a simple room, if you want to call it that. Sunlight drifts in through a cloth at the window. The light moves so slowly it seems to nap where it falls. Dust hangs in the air quietly, almost like it's listening, too. There's a bowl, wide, chipped at the rim, the way most things are. I hold it steady with one hand, fingers cool against the clay. With the other hand, I pour in a stream of oil. It glows yellow, glows like it came right from the sun, caught inside this bottle only for a moment. I add a pinch of herbs. You wouldn't notice their smell unless you stood very close, but if you do, there's sage and something that reminds you of open fields after rain. The stirring is so soft, I could almost do it in my sleep. The wooden spoon loops around the bowl, slow as the world turning. No one rushes me. There's just the hush of the house, someone breathing in the next room, maybe, or the faint sound of sandals brushing the threshold. Let this moment stretch out. There's peace in these quiet chores. I used to think being noticed meant doing things quickly, snapping peas, scrubbing linen, drawing water up sharp and ready. But now it seems like the slower I go, the more the moment notices me. Somewhere outside, a bird hops in the dust. He's looking for seeds. He could flutter away, but he doesn't. Not yet. The day is careful with itself. Each breath is held just a little longer. I can hear my own heart for a while. It's not loud, just steady like a cup being filled. Even this silence is holy. The herbs settle beneath the oil, a bit of green, a swirl of brown. I test the heat with the back of my hand. Warm enough. Not so hot it hurries, there's food here but no urgency. This is what care sounds like, so quiet it's almost part of breathing. There are nights when hunger arrives sharp and fast, but not tonight. Tonight we wait. As I stir, I remember how many times I've done this and how nothing ever changes if I rush. Bread will rise on its own time. The oil seeps into the flour, but only after a while. I don't make these things happen. I just stay and watch. Let this hush fall around you. The bowl is heavier when it's full, but it feels better in my hands. A clay bowl isn't perfect. There are thumbprints pressed into the side and a spot where the glazing wore off years ago. But it holds what's needed just the same. There are sandals near the door, covered in fine dust. Someday I'll sweep it up, not today. Not while the evening air is cool and slow. In the corner, a folded cloth waits to be carried, washed, dried, soft at the edges. Someone will need it. Not yet, though. The night listens with you, the city outside fades to a hush, as if the whole world remembers to pause. The crowd has gone home, their voices turned to quiet thoughts and silent prayers. I have seen people hurry. They pass by, hands full, eyes quick. Tonight is not for that. Tonight is just the bowl, the oil, the care that takes no shortcuts. Somewhere close, I know there is one who walked slowly too, who paused for the smallest things, who saw people, not just crowds. The gentle hush at the edge of his robe, I remember the quiet, the way air would change when he drew near. Peace would settle, just as soft and ordinary as this. Let it settle into your breath. If you can't sleep, that's all right. Let the weariness stay a while. There's no need to press it away. The oil will be ready when it's ready. The bread will rise in its time. You are not late. God's care is never in a hurry. Even if no one sees, this moment is whole by itself. A bowl, a breath, a story pressed gently into the earth like seeds waiting for spring. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Night falls slow, the last songbirds quiet, and I listen to the crowd drift away, like waves rolling far off. My hands are careful, folding a linen edge over and over, smoothing out one more crease by the lamplight. Each fold feels like a long, slow breath. I hold it. I let it out. The air in this little room is thick with all the words left behind, floating in a hush that settles across the floors and the beams. My feet remember the dust and the hush of the crowd, how words from the center faded long before they ever reached us on the edges. Back here, sound is gentle, meaning drifts. The talking never demanded understanding, just listening, like breathing in, breathing out. I move quietly, settling my day's tunic over a peg, feeling the soft, woven cloth slip through my fingers. Night sounds begin, the steady sweep of wind against stone, the careful click of shutters closed, the unhurried rhythm of my own inhale and release. It is not much different from tossing out a handful of lentils for tomorrow's meal. One small thing after another, each as quiet and slow as the last. My body feels heavy and kind, ready to rest. I pull the linen sheet across my shoulders. On my back, I let my eyes drift to the ceiling, watching the fire's memory play in shadows, wave after wave slipping away. My breath is the tide, in and out, in and out. Every inhale wraps a promise around my heart. Every exhale lets it go. Tonight there are no urgent words left, only the low hush of presence, only the soft music that remains when meaning is done. I think about the woman I saw today, lingering at the edge, her hope quiet as folded cloth. I remember the way Jesus stood, how his calm drew us in even when his words blurred into lullaby. We were nothing but listeners on the outside, but I felt noticed somehow. In the slow fall of silence, there is a prayer tucked inside every long breath. I whisper, "Stay near, Lord, hold my turning heart, catch even the prayers I do not speak. Let this stillness hold me. The Lord knows my breath, I am not forgotten. God walks slowly, too, grace finds me. Here, Amen, Amen, Amen." There's a cool patch on the side of the house, a long sliver, shaped just right for resting. It's always there by afternoon, when the sun pulls its bright hand away and the stone wall holds what little chill it can. I slide my body across the flat dirt, the fabric of my robe spreading out, gathering dust, folding at the knees. The ground feels both soft and stubborn, nothing to chase, nothing to prove, just a body meeting this old earth. The wall at my back is rough but friendly. There's a hidden pocket of warmth there, where the sun touched and then left behind one gentle memory. I let my shoulder lean into it. Shadow gathers on my feet, and when I look down, my toes curl in and disappear into the gray. Near the edge of sleep, time loosens. Breaths come slower, in and out, like waves that forget where the shore begins. I count the rhythm by watching the shadows stretch, just a little farther each moment. The busy world keeps moving on the other side of the wall, but not here, not inside this small temple of stillness. A cloak forgotten on a rock, a basket resting empty. There's nothing to finish, nothing to fix. My hands lay quiet on my lap, palms up, just listening. Sometimes there are sounds. A pigeon tucks itself into the eaves. Someone's child laughing beyond the courtyard, and two women arguing softly about figs. Voices at a distance, softened by the slow hush of heat. I let the noise float past, unhurried. It doesn't come looking for me. I notice a flicker on the wall. Light, then shadow, then nothing. Even the sun needs to blink now and again. I close my own eyes, matching its gentleness. There is no lesson here, no wisdom to chase down. This, too, is holy, being a body in the shade, listening and waiting and letting the coolness fold all around, just like a soft blanket after a long walk. Sometimes my mind slips out and wanders. Maybe later I'll fetch water, maybe not. Maybe someone will call my name, or maybe the day will keep moving without me. I decide not to decide. Every thought comes like a bird, visits, pecks, and flutters away. I let them go. In and out, the breath does its small work, quiet and unnoticed. Across the alley, a neighbor pours out dish water, shiny in the last bit of light. Her hands move slow, careless, tired. I watch, not to judge, but because it's soft, another way to wait. She glances up once, but there's no hurry in her face. Only people who hurry are those who haven't found a patch of shade. The fabric of my sleeve feels cool against my skin. I run thumb and finger along the seam, 1, 2, 3, then I let go, just breathing. There's comfort in letting the air stay still, not rushing anything back toward action. The soul finds its own pace, slow, slower, almost stopping. Even the smallest stillness is enough. Let this moment stretch, longer than a sigh, softer than any prayer. Here, quiet is not an empty place. It's a held thing, like water in cupped hands. Some of it seeps away, but enough remains. No one comes looking for me. I stay hidden in the shade, letting the wall carry my tiredness for a while. Maybe that's all God wanted when He made afternoons that asked for nothing. A little coolness, a hidden spot, and a heart that only breathes seen, kept, restored. If you're listening now, let your body grow heavy. Let the shadows cover your toes. Let your hands rest, palms open, just waiting. The world is fine without your worry for a little while. You can let the breath do the work. Even this silence is holy, people pressed in from every side, filling the narrow street so close that it was hard to tell where one person ended and another began. I was just a face in the swarm, another body slowly moving forward, sandals worrying the stones, arms brushing cloth. The faint heat of sunlight caught between us. Even breathing found a quieter rhythm here. Each person stepped in tune with the person just ahead. Nobody hurried. There was no room to hurry. Only the gentle press, the faint shuffle, bits of dust floating up every time a sandal slipped or a foot dragged. Somewhere in all that, a woman edged along. She didn't stand out. Her hands stayed close to her body, fingers curled into her robe, small as if asking nothing. Every so often, someone would pause and glance over, then look away, already forgetting. The crowd breathed gently around her, folding her in without noticing. The nearness of so many was almost soothing. There was no loneliness here. Each step forward, quietly the same as the one before, slow and soft, like walking in a dream that never needs to arrive anywhere. I didn't see her face, not clearly. Just the downcast tilt of her brow, steady and low. She was part of the crowd, neither first nor last. Her footsteps made almost no sound. The hem of another's garment trailed just ahead of hers, close enough to brush, never enough to disturb the cloth. The air was filled with small, shared sounds, the hush of fabric as robes shifted, muted coughs, the patient breathing of bodies used to waiting. No one spoke much. Words would have scattered the moment. Instead, there was a stillness, spread out like a blanket covering every sigh. Even Jesus, somewhere up ahead, made no announcement. The movement was enough. His presence was felt more than seen, a hush strong enough to steady trembling hands or tired hearts. He did not need to turn around. The crowd itself seemed to carry a quiet hope just by being there, close. Longing moved slower than fear. The old pain, the worn tiredness in her body, it didn't make her special here. It softened her, maybe, made her step lighter, touch the earth with a little more care. In this crowd, each ache belonged to someone. No story was loud enough to rise above the mass of other stories. I let my eyes close for a moment as the crowd leaned in. I could almost believe the whole day would pass this way, slow, unimportant, wholly just by being so near. There was a comfort in touching shoulders with strangers, in feeling the gentle sway of bodies, moving neither toward nor away from greatness, just with it, quietly, almost by accident. No one needed to see a miracle. It was enough to be noticed, even by the smallest reach. It was enough to be here, woven into the quiet breath of the crowd, close enough for hope to settle, wordless and simple in the space between each sigh. The day was long enough. The road full enough. There is a corner of the hill where olive trees gather, holding the sky between their leaves. Here, branches arch together, forming a kind of quiet shelter. You can sit beneath them, and hardly anyone will notice you. Not even the wind hurries here. It pauses at the edge and listens, just like you do. From below, the world is soft, voices muffled, footsteps lost under the carpet of dusty leaves. The air is always cooler here. The bark rough, dry under your palm, the earth still warm from the sun, yet deep down, always cool, safe. Sometimes when bees drift through, the moment stretches. They hum across small flowers, lost in their own slow work. It happens over and over, a gentle circle, bee to blossom, wind to branch, leaf down to the ground, resting, rising, returning. You can hear everything, but nothing needs you. Even the flies follow their own slow dance, coming in and out of the light. You let your eyes drift across the green, noticing how each leaf flickers with the smallest breeze. Some leaves show their pale undersides, others lifted straight to the sun. You breathe with them, letting your shoulders drop, feeling the earth hold your weight. There is comfort in knowing the trees were here yesterday and will be here tomorrow. No one asks them to perform. No one rushes them along. The only thing that changes is the pattern of shadows on the ground, long and narrow, then broad and soft as the sun slips by. So much happens here and nothing at all. Nearby, the world keeps moving. You hear it. A distant shout, the sound of water carried uphill, the quiet clatter of a pot set down in the grass by someone else. You are not far from the crowd, but here you are away from it. Safe inside shade, sometimes someone else will come. They never speak much, just sit for a while. Sometimes you hear prayers spoken quietly, so low even the earth would have to lean in. Sometimes no prayer at all, just the steady breath, in, out, just being. Let the bees continue. Let the wind find every gap between leaves. Let the sun slide down the trunks. This goes on without you, but it welcomes you. You are a guest, not just in the shade, but in the quiet itself. You press your palm to the ground, noticing how cool it is below the top layer of dust. How even now, after all these hours, it holds the memory of last night's dew. Breathing here is easier. You inhale and the smell of leaves settles inside your chest, calming, like a clean cloth laid over your shoulders. The branches above catch the late afternoon, moving just enough to remind you that time is real, but it can be stretched thin. The world outside grows louder, but here you feel small in a good way, the kind of small that means safe, noticed, quietly held. No need to speak or even move. Stillness is enough. Somewhere beyond the trees, you know others are looking for something or someone. In here, you remember that you are already found. No fanfare, no signs. Just a small moment hidden away. You reach to touch a low branch, feeling the waxy leaves. It feels like proof, quiet, living proof that you are here. You could stay until the light fades. Let the bees finish their last round. Let the air turn cooler by degrees, like a blanket pulled slowly across your skin. Night will come, but you are not afraid of it now. The hush you found beneath the trees will follow you home, gentle as the sound of leaves settling in the dark. You rise slowly, carrying the calm with you step by easy step. Evening pulled at the edge of the town, soft and slow, as if the day itself was growing tired. The shadows were long enough to brush your feet as you walked. Every step was smaller than you remembered, as if each person carried the pause between one breath and the next. I had been sitting near the well, wrapping a worn piece of linen around my hand. There was a crowd nearby. No one looked up, no one called out. The sound was more like a field resting after harvest than anything urgent. You wouldn't have called it a gathering. Just people standing, some shifting foot to foot, others sitting on stones, the sun catching on dull water jars. That's when I saw her. I only noticed because she moved slower than everyone else, almost slipping through spaces nobody else fit. Her hair was pushed beneath a scarf, her shoulders rounded under years as if sleep weighed on her still. If you weren't paying attention, you would have missed her, or thought she was following the shape of the crowd, not her own silent reason. Everyone was looking ahead, always looking for something to happen. But she was careful, hands pulled close to her body, keeping distance as if her skin itself was tired of being held up by hope. There was a small piece of red thread woven into her sleeve. It reminded me of home, things worn until they were soft enough to comfort you, hard days stitched carefully together again and again. Closer, without hurry. The dust was thick, but even it settled when she passed. People talked in quiet, unimportant voices, the kind you hear at market when everyone is too tired for argument. Some shoes scuffed the stones, and a man leaned against a low wall chewing a cedar twig. None of it had a center. No one declared anything. Every sound floated out and disappeared into the soft heat. In the middle of it all there was a man. I had seen him before, quiet eyes and plain walking. People said he could do things, but he was never in a rush. He listened more than he spoke. There was a stripe of dust along his robe where he had leaned against a door frame. Nothing about him would have drawn attention. were it not for the way some women watched, hoping for something gentle. The woman with the red thread paused at the very edge. She seemed to shrink inward for a moment, standing in the noise but not part of it. Her hands trembled, not with fear but with years. She took in one deep, steady breath and let it out. Even the air around her was quiet. I turned away, folding my cloth, thinking nothing would happen. The world was thick with people waiting for miracles, but sometimes it's only stillness that arrives. It was just then, when no one was looking, that her hand moved. Barely. It was the smallest motion, like brushing a crumb from the table. Her fingers stretched out, careful as when you test if bread is done baking. She reached for the hem of his robe. The cloth was plain, the kind you patch again and again, never new but always enough. There wasn't a sound, no shouts, no wind even, only the small rustle of her fingers across the edge of fabric. She touched it so softly, you would have thought she was checking if it would hold, or if it would lose its shape with the brush of her skin. The entire world seemed to pause just for the length of a breath. Nobody noticed except me, and maybe him. But he didn't turn. There was just a stillness, like something gentle sat on the air, making every heart slow down without knowing why. Some birds called out in the distance, as if reminding the day it would soon be finished. The woman's hand dropped softly to her side. She stood very still, not changed in any way you could measure, just quieter maybe, like someone holding a secret she didn't have to speak aloud. The crowd pressed and shifted. Life moved forward in its slow, unfussy way. Someone picked up a jar and set it down again. A child asked for bread. A dog scratched its ear and lay down at the road's edge. The market would soon close, and night would come to cover everything gentle that had gone unseen in daylight. The woman with the red thread slipped back through the crowd. No one looked her way. No one asked why she had come. The cloth she touched fell back into its fold, holding nothing more than before. But somehow the air felt easier, like you could fill your lungs and hold what was quiet inside you without needing to explain. Nothing was spoken. No one declared anything holy. She was just part of all of us again, a face unnoticed, a heart returned to her own pace. I watched her walk past the stalls, dust lifting behind her steps, no hurry at all. The day ended, folding itself into night, just like her hands had folded the edge of the robe. It was an ordinary ending, plain as bread, soft as sleep. The small, unnoticed contact holding its own kind of peace. Afterward, as we gathered our things and began the silent routine of shutting up shop, I kept thinking how something can change inside you without anyone noticing. Hope looks like so little from the outside. Sometimes it's a single hand reaching for something gentle. Sometimes it's just the memory of fabric brushed quietly in a crowd and all the small breaths that followed. There was no booming voice, no shaking earth. The world kept turning, slow and kind. Let this moment stretch. Let your own breath be easy. Even this silence is holy. Somewhere tonight, a woman is resting both hands on her chest, heart slow and steady, unseen by everyone but God. The cloth she touched holds the shape of her hope, gentle and undisturbed. The night listens with you and lets everything find its own soft ending. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Nothing noticed the prayer, but it was heard. After the brush of cloth, only breath remained. The crowd didn't know the moment had come and gone. Clothes shifted. Sand moved under sandals. A bird called somewhere and few looked up, but right there around that hem the air quieted. Breath in, breath out, lungs rose then fell, gentle and unnoticed. Not one person said a word for a long moment. Dust settled. Someone coughed softly. Some children giggled, not understanding why everyone had stopped. For the woman, all things shrank to the space between shoulders, her own and his. She felt inside herself for pain and found nothing remarkable. Her own chest, rising, falling. The world had not spun. Her heart didn't race. She stood steady for the first time in years. Behind her, the river kept moving. Ahead, a neighbor shifted her basket. For a moment, there was no crowd, only the air, only the slow filling and emptying of lungs. She looked down, her hand brushed against rough cloth. Breath in, breath out. She could sense her body holding, not just existing, but present. No one noticed the pause, not the sunlight on stone, not the wind curling past a doorway, not even the teacher's close friends. It was just air lit by afternoon. She closed her eyes, listened to her own deep breathing, steady, ordinary, safe. Her palm tingled. The world felt quiet and slow. She stood in it, breath in, breath out, waiting to see if the softness would last. She touched her side, half expecting old pain, but breathing deep. All she found was wholeness, unremarkable, soft and plain. Other voices returned, someone asking the price of figs, a boy chasing a stick. Even so, the smallest space around her felt washed, emptied of ache. No announcements, no songs. Breath in, breath out. She would remember this, how stillness grew from a small touch, how you can live years in shadows and then quietly be found, no crowd needed. Her lungs filled again, slow, gentle, almost boring in their steady promise. Hers now, given, not asked for, quietly restored. The crowd moved on. The world never noticed her miracle, but in that quiet, breath still lingered. Rising, falling again and again, the sun warmed her cheek. She didn't move quickly. She didn't want to lose this steady rhythm. Moments stretched. Even the sheep paused, chewing slowly, unhurried by anyone's need. Breath in, breath out. For the rest of the day, her body remembered this slow pace, like learning to walk again. Not limping, not straining, just air, just lungs, rising, falling like the world breathing with her. Nothing more needed to happen now. She held the moment, breath in, breath out, whole in the littlest, most common way of all. She walked home before dark. And all through the twilight, as others hurried to finish their work, she kept to that quiet cadence, breath in, breath out, the whole world, present, ordinary, and new. Dust settles quieter when hope has had its say. The road back is the same as the road that led here, but it feels softer now, like the world has taken a breath. My feet know these patterns, scuffed stones, pressed earth, the hush of sandals brushing pebbles. No one hurries. I keep my head low. The crowd still presses somewhere behind, but in front of me, only the old, gentle path stretches out like something familiar I'd forgotten for a while. A dog sniffs at scraps beside a doorway. A jug sits perched, tilting a little by the well. Familiar things. My neighbors, busy with water, vegetables, a tangle of washing, barely look up or offer a nod. I return with half a smile. Maybe they saw, maybe they didn't. It doesn't matter. I am one among many again, moving with the quiet rhythm of evening. Each step feels almost ordinary. One foot, then the next. The hem of my cloak brushes the ground. A pebble, a root, a patch of soft sand, each one noticed only for its comfort underfoot. The day wears down gentle, shrugged off by the warmth still left inside me. Birds pick quietly at seeds. Figs split and dry in the late sun. Far off, the cries of children wind home, someone calling for supper, a low laugh from behind a thin wall. I savor the way the air settles, heavy with dust and bread and a sleepy sort of peace. The crowd blurs behind me. Some faces I remember, most I don't. I think of the brushing of cloth, how nothing gold or bright happened, just light passing through linen, a touch at the edge, like the day simply turning. No one notices a woman walking home slowly. Still, that's what happens. Let this moment stretch. Even breathing feels like something new, but no one comments. I walk back toward the small, slanting house I call my own, past the goats tethered, past the neighbors threading string through baskets, past the boy bringing in kindling for his mother. The world folds itself quietly around me. It has room for both what happened and what is always happening. I think about supper, a piece of flatbread, maybe honey, the small perfect pulse of beans spooned from a bowl. I don't remember crowds now, just the pattern of hands cleaning a table, the creak of the wooden bench, the coolness of stone at my feet as I step across the threshold. No one asks anything of me. No one needs stories tonight. The oil lamp will be trimmed. Someone will pass water, dipping a cloth to wipe the dust from tired hands. Someone, maybe myself, will murmur thanks no louder than breath, because it's enough to be seen quietly in the ordinary fold of evening. If there is anything holy, it slips into the calmest things, a breeze through the olive branches, the hush after a long day, the soft way the street empties as shadows grow. I take off my sandals, set them just so, smooth the corner of a blanket. There is no hurry. Tonight, life returns to what it was, only softer. The smallest pause is enough, and the path, though unchanged, feels kindly different beneath my feet. I woke before dawn this morning, same as always. When the world is so quiet, you could hear the dust settle on a windowsill. My hands found the old clay pitcher by the door, thumb tracing the smooth places, feeling the little cracks on its lip. That jar has carried more years than I can count, and through every season it waits for water, waits for me too, I suppose. Sometimes I think about the weight of it, empty, it's easy, but with water it pulls on my arms, steady and honest. All these mornings I walk the same worn path out past where the animals graze, where the dew sits thick on the stones, where my shadow is long and stretching behind me. The stones are slippery this hour, but my feet remember. I let the still air linger around me, the hush not unfriendly, just there to wrap around the start of day, letting each footstep find its way with no haste. Even the birds are slow to begin. Their songs now mix with my own sleepy breath, in, out, soft and slow enough to calm a restless heart. Today isn't different on the outside. Sun peeking just above the edge of the roofs. A little wind, gentle as a hand on your head. I watch as the pale blue spills quietly, bit by bit, until everything is gently lit, but nothing is in a hurry. The neighbors move inside their houses, letting shutters creak. I pass one or two who nod, not with words, but in the comfortable way of people who know this silence. Even getting water feels like prayer, though nobody would call it that. The well holds the same chill, dark as ever, and my reflection on the surface wavers a little when I lean in. Let this moment stretch. Let it last as long as it will. I lower the jar on its rope, the soft thunk against the water sending ripples in circles. The sound relaxes my shoulders somehow, like the world is breathing with me. I don't rush the pull, watching the loop twist over itself and the water rise to meet the clay. When I lift it out, heavier now, for just a second I see my face clearer in the cool water, my eyes softer than before, less tight at the corners, less braced against the day. The jar is wet, the rope fraying in spots, my wrists warm in the morning air. Even this silence is holy. Walking home is never quick. With the full jar, every step asks you to slow down, to listen for uneven stones, to keep your grip loose but certain. I learned years ago that it doesn't matter how carefully I step. Sometimes the water will slosh out and darken the path anyway. That used to matter. Now I just let it drip, making its own way back to the earth. Sometimes I pass others carrying jars, some whispering to themselves, some lost in their own quiet thoughts. The years make us all gentle eventually. We nod, a kind of silent blessing. I notice the olive trees, the way dawn makes their leaves shine like coins before the sun gets too strong. The goats hardly look up, chewing calmly, as if they know nothing truly urgent will happen today. Up ahead by my own doorway, I pause. My arms are tired but not sore. There's time to stand in the shade and listen to the water shift in its clay shell, little waves bumping the sides. I breathe it in. There is nothing I need or lack right now. For a moment I remember other days, days when my heart was a stone and everything inside me rattled and shook from wanting. But here, it is quiet. Even if nothing has changed outside, something is less heavy inside. I set the jar down by the cooking stones, careful of the cool earth underneath. The sound is solid, a sign I made it again. Little things, the sweep of my dress against my ankles, the way a sparrow hops along the wall, the warmth beginning to gather on my back. No miracles here. Just water, just morning, just the steady weight of being alive and watched over. I wipe my hands on my apron, watching the clear surface of the water. It ripples, slows, stills. There it is, me, reflected. Not younger, not stronger, just lighter. A heart less burdened. That's the change. No one will notice. Maybe no one should. A neighbor calls out a greeting, soft as the day before, friendlier maybe because I hear it better. I answer, simple and quiet, letting my voice be gentle because it can be now. The world keeps turning. There will always be jars to fill, chores to do, dust to sweep, fire to stoke. But even this, especially this, can feel sacred if my spirit is rested. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Later, I carry water again. The path is the same, and yet my steps feel sure. The breeze comes and goes, and with it the hush of leaves moving together like a long sigh. I think about how the days all blend, flowing into each other, and it makes me glad. I don't have to be new every morning. Just here, just willing. The jar is filled again and again. The surface settles, bright and untroubled, mirroring sky, hand, hope. Unchanged task, changed spirit. The Lord walks slowly too. Let this moment stretch. Let the day repeat. Let goodness find me in the simplest thing. Amen. The evening meal in this house is always quiet. The bowl sits in the middle. Someone tore the bread earlier. Nothing fancy, just baked this morning, left to cool on the smooth, worn table. Light touches the oil in the dish, making it look gold for a moment, then dim again. It's the smallest thing, dipping bread, soft in hand, edges soaked until heavy. No one says much. The room listens to us instead. The lamp's little flame fidgets in its cup of clay, smoky and shy. No need to hurry, though dusk has come and the air is beginning to cool along the stone floor, all our feet tucked up. You hear breathing, chewing, a slow swallow. That's all one prayer if anyone's asked. Some evenings someone speaks, just to remember something ordinary. How the hills looked in the late sun, or the market's empty stalls. Sometimes no one needs to fill the hollow. Silence grows gentle, folding itself around our shoulders like a faded blanket. It doesn't feel lonely. It feels like the day sighing, like the part of you that aches finally sitting down. Nothing needs to be said most nights. It's enough to be here. I watch tired hands pull bread apart, the simple movements, as if time only moves when you choose. There is nothing to solve at this table. The bowls are plain, the cups just clay, but the bread is warm and the oil smells comfortingly sharp. I remember once, years back, how a woman passed through a crowd, reaching for something she almost couldn't form words for. It was just a touch, really, the smallest brush. Tonight feels like that in its own way. Nothing special, but still it matters. We eat in this hush. We breathe. We're seen even if no one looks up for long. The night outside is slow. Somewhere someone's goat gives a soft, drowsy bleat. The world gets quiet, even the fig leaves sighing against the window. Food becomes a gentle thing, less about hunger now, more about belonging. Just a handful of us gathered, shadows stretching. After a while, you lose track of time. The meal takes as long as it takes, chewing and pausing, oil and salt, the lamp burning lower in its dish, a flicker above pale bowls. Even the flies are gone, tucked away in sleep. This kind of quiet softens everything. Sometimes I think God must love these nights, the ordinary ones with bread passed quietly and heads bent, just listening to the silence do its work. We sit beside each other like stones at the edge of water, letting quiet finally have the last word. He asked for nothing and still felt full. We all did. The peace came slow and stayed. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. Let this moment stretch. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you, evening stretches long, as if time itself is in no hurry to finish. The sun fades slow on the old stones, making everything golden, then blue, then dust and shadow. Each window glows, then winks out, one by one, until only a little pink is left on the edges of the sky. She feels it, the winding down. The busy part of life has gone quiet, feet no longer rushing, voices drifting off down the alleys, shutters closing gentle. Some sandals leave the street, some slippers shuffle home, some simply stand still, pausing in the hush that evening brings. This is the hour when the world seems to sigh out what's left of the day. She doesn't walk fast, never has, not since the tiredness took root deep in her bones. Tonight she moves slower still, each step a soft sound, skin brushing the path, then pausing, then moving again. The air is thinner here, cooler, holding onto the last warmth from the sun. It wraps soft around her, gentle, almost forgiving. Sometimes she feels the empty street with her steps. She listens for any echo. Her sandals, worn so thin, tap on the stones in a steady, quiet rhythm. The sound repeats again and again, like soft knocking on a door that is never hurried to open. She lets her mind wander with it, and again, There aren't many people now. Shopkeepers sweep their front steps, moving slow, just to have something to do with hands and time. A mother gathers her children, calling softly so as not to startle the dusk. Each voice is lower, almost as if the world is preparing to sleep too. She walks past. No one stares. No one asks where she is going. For once she feels she could go anywhere or nowhere, and it would be all the same. She notices small things more in the evening. The way a lantern swings in the breeze, the simple creak of wood, the hush that follows laughter from far away. She listens to the ordinary, everyday sounds, the street settling, dogs sighing under a doorway, wheat chaff blowing across the stone. At the edge of the market, a basket sits forgotten. She stops only for a breath, fingers brushing the handle. She does not take it, just feels how the shape fits her hand, lets the thought pass. Then she keeps going, steps slower still. She counts each step, letting them steady her. 1, 2, 3, and again. 1, 2, 3, letting her whole self become part of the quiet winding down. Shadows grow taller than people. Her own moves beside her, a long, gentle shape stretching toward the last light. Sometimes it seems to reach for her hand, but of course it never quite does. She walks anyway, leaning into the familiar ache, trusting the path knows her tired feet by now. No rush, no need. Here, at the end of the day, she almost forgets the crowd waiting elsewhere. The world of wanting and noise feels far off. There is just the soft beat of her heart and the air, and the memory of daylight slowly leaving the stones. Each breath is quieter, each thought looser. The evening keeps stretching. She lets it, with every careful, repeated step. She is not lost, she is not hurried. Slowly, softly, the day puts itself away and she walks on, slower, slower, each step a sure, light sound into the peace between things. Here, where almost nothing happens, she realizes she is seen all the same. The courtyard rests under a pale moon. Stones still warm from the day's sun slip into coolness. Most have already gone to their quiet corners for the night. Some are wrapped in thin linens, heads tucked close to the wall, breath falling in and out, easy as the crickets. Inside, in the smallest room, sits a scroll. It's old, edges curled a bit, the ink from long ago faded soft brown. There's a low lamp nearby, burning quietly. Its light doesn't reach far, only puddling around the table, turning shadows into halos on the clay floor. Someone's hand rests near the scroll, not touching, not writing, just there. Palm down, fingers open, the way a hand might linger when there's nothing that must be done. The reed for writing sits in its bowl, still as sleep. Next to it, oil in a shallow dish waits, reflecting the moon in muted flickers. No one expects words tonight. There is no story to hurry, no teaching rising up inside. The air doesn't move much here. Every so often there's a sigh, gentle as the lamp flame shifting. Pages do not turn. The scroll sits patient. The word is present, whether written or not. You sit back, feeling the weight of the quiet pile up like folded laundry. The urge to do something, write, speak, fill the hush with lines, fades a little. There is peace in what isn't being written. Holiness in how the ink doesn't spill out across the page. You can hear faintly the sounds of others slipping further into sleep, feet sliding over stone, a soft yawn behind a woven curtain, the night folding itself around each person, just so. No one comes to read the scroll, not tonight. Even the lamp is growing tired now. its golden puddle wandering slowly away from the edge of the parchment. Still, nothing moves. You breathe in and out, not expecting revelation, not hoping for a sign. There's comfort here in waiting without expectation, in knowing the word is alive even when no one writes a single stroke. A breeze finds its way in under the door. The flame in the lamp bends, then returns. Shadows shift, but nothing else changes. You stay with the scroll, letting your hand rest there, not as a writer or a scribe, just as someone willing to be still with the word. Tonight, Scripture lives without action. The story remains untold, and that somehow is enough. The page is full just from being kept company. You close your eyes, you don't have to do anything. The presence is here, silent and whole. Enough for tonight. There will be other days for words. For now, the holy waits in stillness. The moon keeps watch. Your breath settles. The word lives unwritten beside you, and nothing more is needed. There were afternoons when the whole village slowed, as if everyone was rocked by the same warm air and soft dust settling from the road. I had finished folding the cloths by the door. The sun was drooping, gentle and wide, and I sat back on my heels, not hurrying to stand up again. About this time, some people would whisper their requests, quiet prayers for grain or rain or someone to come home safe. But there are evenings where words fall away. Your knees just know the ground, soft and familiar, cool in the shadow, and you sit quietly, not for asking, but because it feels good to rest there a little while, close to the earth. No list of needs, no promise or bargain, no reason said aloud, just breathing, letting your body settle into being small and safe again. I saw once, through open doors, old women and young children together, not praying out loud, just sitting, knees bent, hands loose in their laps, almost as if being there, still and quiet, was its own kind of prayer. I think of the woman who reached for his cloak that day. Before she moved, before she tried at all, she must have known the feeling of simply kneeling, of trusting that sometimes being present is enough, not speaking, not reaching yet, but being gently held upright by nothing but the hush, the ground, her own breath. There's no pressure in it, no rule. Just the body given a break, safe to rest for a moment while the world keeps on turning. Tonight I remember that posture, not a demand but an offering. Knees folded softly beneath me, back rounded, arms heavy and still. Nothing to hold up, no performance. Silence as a cushion, the ground kinder than it was at midday, cool and forgiving. You don't have to turn it into a ritual. The pillows arrange themselves. The air calms around you. You just let yourself be held for a pause, and that somehow is prayer enough. Even if no one notices, even if all you do is breathe, you exist and you are quietly seen by the one who listens to the softness of your heart in stillness. Let this moment stretch. Let the silence last. Tonight the sweetness is in kneeling for nothing and finding you are already close enough to be loved. The day grew soft, the last sounds of sandals fading in the alley, a hush settling, even on the stones. She stood, easing her weight from one foot to the other. Lamps gently flickered on windowsills as one by one doors closed. The air outside grew cooler, the sky heavy, like a blue quilt stitched with slow-burning stars. Inside the small room she moved quietly, folding empty cloth, smoothing corners that needed no smoothing, fingers numb but gentle. She watched dust shift in the lamplight, swirling high and then falling near her breathing. It was time. She tugged the wooden door. It closed with a soft click. The night was hers now, slow, sacred, asking nothing. She sat, pulled the lamp close, letting the light spill tiny golden moons onto her lap. There was no one watching, no voice loud. The silence felt like water in an old well, deep, cool, bottomless. Breath came slower now, like the world was sighing around her. She pressed her hands together. Just a prayer, not for a miracle anymore. Just for peace, quiet as the night around her. Thank you for this day, each moment, even the tired ones. Thank you for seeing me, always, all the quiet hours when no one spoke my name. I rest now. I don't try so hard. You hold me, I know. She whispered more, but only in small pieces. Thank you for the crowd. Thank you for the stillness that followed. Thank you for every breath, even the shaky ones. The lamp glowed softer. She let each word drop and fade, finding peace in the gentle pauses between them. I am heard. I am not lost. Nothing needed fixing tonight, just this quiet, and you with me. She settled deeper, curling into a slow surrender. A good tired, the kind of tired that means the day is finished and nothing more is expected. You haven't forgotten me. You don't rush. You are here in the silence. I am safe now. I am seen. I am whole. She let the lamp dim itself. Stars outside waiting their turn to stand watch. Her final prayer came in pieces, each smaller than the last, as if giving up every burden. One breath at a time, peace came, not quickly, but gently, like a blanket lifted and placed just so. She belonged to this night, to the quiet, to a God who knew the smallest reaches of her heart. There was nothing else she needed to do, just rest, welcomed, stillness earned. Amen, amen, amen.